come one, come all, nothing but love, nothing but respect. You know what we do, what we don't, what we is, what we isn't, and what we is here today. Bring you guys and girls One Piece, chapter 1099, titled Pacifist. Unfortunately, Eggs and Kuma couldn't make it today, so we have a new roster of people coming through, so I'll let them introduce themselves in a second. Currently, they've got another conversation going on, so we'll jump in mid-conversation, but hopefully Young is also going to make it later on as well, so we're going to get straight into the greatness that is chapter 1099. But yeah, before we do, you know what to do, you know what is appreciated. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon for more notifications for content like this. Give the video a thumbs up and all that good stuff. Now that you have, let's get into it. And give me 2 seconds, and I will set this up. By the way, we are live now.
Alrighty.
Do you,
How you doing, good people?
Alright, who wants to go first? Introduce yourselves, ladies and gentlemen.
I am FNO, you know. I'm just here, the freshest dude out here talking about the cleanest and most peak fiction of all time. Glad to be here.
And we also have with us tonight the Black Paladin. Black Paladin, say hello, my dude.
Yo, what's good? It's your boy Donovan from the southeast of the United States, born from Georgia, mom from North Carolina, my dad from Florida. What's good?
Man's giving himself the WWE intro, doing the weigh-in and everything. I love it.
Oh man.
Oh. Alright. So have you ended up finishing the chapter for Nofo?
Yes, I'm all caught up now.
Okay, perfect. So, this week, picking up chapter 1099, it's titled Pacifist. Got a cover page, it's just another call-in request. It's just Odin getting a haircut by some Tanukis. I was looking everywhere for an Easter egg in this, potentially, but I think it's just generic color page sort of thing, or cover page sort of thing.
Interesting.
The only thing that really stood out to me was maybe one of the Tanukis looks like it's got Yubashiri, Zoro's old sword, but a bit hard to tell.
My heart hurts. Rest in peace to you, Bashiri.
I mean, maybe this haircut's happening in the afterlife too. You know, there's a little sword heaven down there with Odin.
Yeah, cause I ain't gonna lie, you Bashiri, it was a day one.
Yeah, it's
that sword gave it its all. I ain't gonna lie.
I'm a little heartbroken that Zoro hasn't had more swords, but at the same time, I feel like we don't get enough personality from his swords already, in a way. Like,
yeah, like
No, what? No. I actually do have an opinion on that. Listen, every sword that he has had, he had to give up something.
nah, for real. If you think about it, with
Queen,
everything that happened with him, with everything that's happened with Zoro, he had to give something in return. You know, like it's almost like Full Metal Alchemist. You know how alchemy, you have to give something in return,
equivalent
the law of
exchange.
equivalent exchange. And since he does walk the path of Ashura, you know, an Ashura is not only just a demon, but it's also a god of destruction or a god of war or a god of battle. So he had to give something in return for power. Just like with Enma. Remember, when Odin was wielding Amano, Hibakiri, and Enma, the swords that sliced through the heavens and hell, he was wielded, from what Zoro said, Odin wielded those swords like they were feathers. So our boy Zoro really had to, you know, get what I'm saying? He had the hockey. He had the hockey versus hockey Enma. Like, if you don't give my arm back, you feel me?
Yeah, I definitely see what you mean, but what would... Okay, so he gives up Kuina. What would you say he gives up for Sandai?
He lost it. So what you have to understand, so not only did he give up his best friend, but he also gave up his sense of direction in retrospect. It's either he lost his sense of direction with Wado Ichimonji, or he lost his sense of direction with his second sword. But it was
Yeah.
already stated in the Vivir that when he was sailing to become the strongest, yeah. And he was getting lost even before that sword. So I would highly think that he lost two things when he acquired Wado. You feel me?
Ultimate plot
Yeah.
twist. Zoro never gets lost. he's just following the direction of the Wado, which is called the straight road of peace. So he's
Pers-
Yeah,
being dragged
yeah,
on the
because if
peaceful
you
route.
look at Wado Ichimonji's name really means, because remember, Ichi means one, so it's going in straight, so it's going straight ahead. Because
So
if we look at Sandai Kitetsu, it's technically the third sword of the Kitetsu series. We see Nidai Kitetsu, that's the sword Luffy gets, even though he doesn't even use the sword. He's just a brawler. He just punches with the sword. And then we know the other Kitetsu belongs to one of the government dudes.
Well,
hmm
it's theorized too. We don't know confirmed. It's never been confirmed who has the Ichidai.
Yeah, we
Shodai.
don't know who has Ichidai or Shodai Kitetsu. We do not know where that sword is. I ain't gonna lie.
hmm
Now with all the swords in One Piece, we notice that they have their own soul. They have their own personality. Like Yoru, for instance, Yoru has a mind of its own. A lot of people, don't realize it, because people, when
Oh
they see
yeah,
One Piece, they're like, "Oh, the swords don't have a mind of their own. Oh, they're just weapons." No, they are not. They got a mind of their own.
it's
Best
verbatim
believe.
been confirmed actually because Mihawk was actually speaking to his sword before he was attacking.
I always think of it
Nah,
like
fact.
this, right? Yahaki is your willpower. We
Mm-hmm.
don't ever spend really any time with people that create things. The closest thing to it that we've really ever focused on are shipwrights, right?
Right.
Yep.
Frankie is
The
probably the
shipwrights
best
are the
shipwright we know,
are the MVPs.
right? Frankie's ship has a Klabautamon, a spirit within it. There's
It does.
probably a level of there's probably an aspect to Haki when you pour your will into creating something, when it's created, it takes on its own will based on that intent. And I feel like the same can probably be said for the swords, right?
Yeah. Just to go along with it, y'all remember Whitebeard's Basento?
Yep.
The Nagan his Basento is so a Basento is it's almost like you use it like a sword or you use it like a Naginata, because Basentos are like in the middle. I could wager the Basento felt really bad when Whitebeard was gone.
Muro Kurogiri, Cloud Cutter, which works
Yep.
perfectly because having a sword called Cloud Cutter by someone with advanced Conqueror's Haki, sort of, you know, it's the best example of something that's going to be splitting the heavens over and over and over.
Yeah, because the way that Roger and Whitebeard said hi with Ace and Cloud Cutter was probably the greatest hello, was probably one of the greatest high fives,
Dude, I'm not going
the
to lie,
greatest bromance high five in anime.
it's amazing until we see Mihawk and Shanks do it. I'm putting money that is going to be the same,
Ooh,
but a little bit
I
more
want
wild.
them to do a high five. I agree. I really want to see Ace versus I want to see Griffin versus Yoru.
See, it'll depend really well as well, based on what the conclusion of this arc is, because we may like within the next like 3 chapters, arguably, we could be jumping straight into Shanks versus Blackbeard or something.
Mm.
Because
You know what? I want to see. I want to see. You know what? What if Luffy? Hear me out. This might sound crazy. Yeah, no problem.
you're good.
Uh, what if Luffy finds Ace, the sword itself of Roger?
See, I've thought
Because we
about
don't know
this.
where Ace is.
I've thought about this, and I've wondered whether or not we're gonna see any other returning Supreme Grade swords, or if they're gonna be left alternating for different generations. For example, I questioned really heavily when Weevil made it to Whitebeard's hometown whether or not he
Mm-hmm.
took Murakuragiri and replaced it with his like the Basento that he had, because that would be definitely something that's on the lines of that's his inheritance in his mind.
Yeah, because it's like his birth. Like with a lot of swords, they are essentially like your family heirloom and your birthright. So essentially, we can look at Wado Ichimonji. It belonged to Kawina and her family. It belonged to her dad, who was the sword master. So indirectly, you can say Wado Ichimonji is Zoro's family heirloom.
Mm-hmm.
But I could also wager when he fought Ryoma. Remember, the Ryoma essentially is a distant relative, if not an ancestor, of Zoro, and that's why he felt the respect of Zoro and gave him Shunsui because of that familiar bond.
They're cousins, technically speaking.
Yep.
Which I definitely, I'm not gonna lie, them being cousins just says to me as well that Kuina probably has a direct cousin, not like a second cousin, a direct cousin or a direct sibling into Shigi who is separated from the family very, very briefly.
And that's why I said Kawina possibly resides in the sword, like her strength resides in the sword of Wado Ichimonji protecting Zoro.
See, I struggle with Zoro, right? Because I think it's too much for him to get 3 black blades at the end of the story. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I can see that. Because, for the instance, the only black, if we're really talking about a technical black blade, it's like all his black blades, the only one that's technically a black blade would be Enma. And by extension, its brother, Amano Hibakiri.
Well, not even because like when I'm saying a black blade, I mean like Yoru and Shisui, where they're a permanent black
Yeah,
blade.
Yoru and Shisui, they're like, coated in hockey most for the most part, and they just become a black blade overall, just like with Yoru.
See,
Because Yoru, like we said, they all have the soul. And Yoru, by extension, has always been a black blade because, its name means the night. So it makes sense that it's a black blade.
see,
But yeah, I see what you're coming from, Nova.
my mindset for it is whatever the intention is for the sword that's made, there's a will assigned to it, right? Just like how the Sunny's will is to sail the seas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Depending,
Like it inherited the ideals of the Mary.
yeah. So whoever the blacksmith is that made whatever sword it is, each sword has their own desire. That they were made for a purpose, and it's indicative of the creator, right? For example, Wado Ichimonji being the straight road of peace probably won't become a black blade until there's close to, if not world peace, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Then we have Sandai Diketsu, the third sword, essentially what his name means. The third demon.
See,
because it's a cursed blade.
I don't know
almost like a Muramasa.
I don't know if all of Zoro's swords are going to become black blades or if he's going to get just the Wado, because it's been with him the longest and it's going to be the one that achieves the dream. Because I would hedge a bet at the moment that the reason Yoru is a black blade is because Yoru was created with the sole purpose of becoming the world's strongest swordsman's sword originally.
So there's a possibility that Zoro might inherited Yoru to inherit the title?
I could see Zoro cutting down Mihawk or defeating Mihawk in some capacity at the end. And then in the aftermath of it, Mihawk offers up his sword. But then I could see Zoro, if Zoro accepts it, he doesn't use it. It's just to collect. Or if he rejects it, it sort of crushes the will of Yoru. Because Mihawk specifically has said, this is Yoru, the world's strongest Black Blade. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he also we can see how Mihawk, he was honor bound. He said, "Very well, I shall test your mettle by killing you with Yoru.
Mm.
Because when a swordsman fights, they put their life on the line. They give it everything they have into a battle. So that's why when we look at Mihawk, he essentially is almost like a Spaniard.
Yep.
He's like a knight, almost like from El Zorro. That's why I always liked Mihawk's design. He just reminded me of like a El Zorro character.
I always think of Mihawk and Shanks as the difference between the Spanish and the Crusaders, essentially.
Yeah, they really are because I can see them almost like the Teutonic Knights
Mm.
in the Templar. That's what they kind of remind me of. To go along with this, we notice that Shank is also of royal blood. He also is a descendant of knights. Hence why it makes a lot of sense why his sword is called the Griffin. The
Mm.
lion, the winged beast, part lion, part eagle. It's like a symbol of royalty.
Yo, just had like this weird, bizarre flashback here for a second.
Hmm.
We're getting Kuma's flashback in this chapter, meaning the
Yep.
only warlord that we haven't actually had a proper flashback for now is Weevil and Mihawk.
This is true.
And maybe arguably like a second flashback for Croc, but I am so damn curious to see where Mihawk originates from,
Yeah.
especially since so much of like what's happening now in the story is
What
really
is
reflective of early One
Okay,
Piece.
so since we're talking about like their mythology, what is Mihawk and Shanks' nationality from what Oda said?
I don't think he's specified what Mihawk's nationality is, but I think he said. I'll have to double check. I don't know if he said it for Shanks either, but I feel like Shanks was supposed to be Spanish.
I think Shank is supposed to be a Spaniard because if we look at the Iberian Peninsula, because okay, with Spain as a whole in the Iberian Peninsula, it has so many diverse cultures and nationalities. It because this is also around the time when the Spaniards had to fight with the Muslims and the Islam and the Moors,
Mm,
because the Turkish, because all the tribes, all the ones that were Islam, Muslim, and the Turks, they conquered half of the peninsula. So if I were to say in Spain, where I know he would be from, he would definitely be from Leon.
I
He
could
would
say that.
definitely be from Leon, which is one of the Spanish castles in Spain, with the lion as their to go along with his griffin
The figurehead.
motif.
Yeah, I could say that. It's either that
Because
or
yeah,
he's
I can
gonna
see him being a
be.
Spaniard.
It's either gonna be that or it's gonna be some bullshit like Eustace Kid where like Oda just goes, he's got red hair, he's Scottish, bye.
That was funny. Mihawk, I can see him being Wallachian or Romanian, because
I
Dracul Mihawk.
I definitely
Because
see
Dracul,
Romayani Christian
yeah,
for
I can see
Mihawk.
because Dracul from what it Dracul means dragon, and so when you say his name Dracul Mihawk, it means dragon bird essentially.
I didn't know that about Dracul, so now I'm just 100% convinced that
Yeah,
he's
Dracula, because
also.
Dracul, because that was the one of the other names called that Vlad the Impaler was called Dracula Dracul,
I am now
because that name was
100%.
inherited.
I'm now 100%
Yeah,
sold
because
that Mihawk is gonna have some lineage with the Celestial Dragons and be a bastard then.
facts. Because like I said, Dracul means dragon, and Dracul is a name given to Dracula back when he was ruling Wallachia as a prince. Because under him, Romania and Wallachia was actually his province given to him by the Turks. Because remember, at this time of history, the Turks have conquered almost ha- were almost conquering Europe. They already conquered Constantinople. Mephimed the Conqueror was, trying to was a student. This back when he grew, Mehmed the Conqueror, one of the Turkish sultans, grew up with Vlad,
Mm.
and they have a rivalry. And the name Dracul was inherited to Vladimir because it was like an ancestral name.
Interesting.
Yep.
It's gonna be hard to pick when Oda is drawing thematical lines from history of these characters and when he just cuts
Mm-hmm.
the arbitrary line. Like for example, like Jewelry Bonnie, um, Bonnie being based on Jewelry Bonnie, or Jewelry Anne Bonnie, but Anne Bonnie was
Mm-hmm.
also a pirate that was in love with the pirate that Yorkie was based on from
Yep.
Brooks' Crew. So it's like it's hard to draw the line of like, is he pulling more on their plot for this, or has he just
Yeah.
already covered it?
Yeah, because when I saw Brooke, for example, I always thought he reminded me of Papa Legba from Voodoo.
Mm.
With the afro, with his fro and the way he speaks and the way he loves music and stuff, and he also deals with death. I always saw him as almost like a inspiration of the skeleton spirits.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from with that.
Mm-hmm. Now I can say like his moniker, the Soul King. It makes it. I always thought whenever I see him, I would say my favorite line still got to be when he was like, "That you ain't got real soul. It runs away. That scared, slapped on spirit of yours. But when you hear my soul scream, it knocks you off your feet. Do you want to hear my stage name, baby? Soul King."
Yo,
Like
I
Brooke is just
I saw a rundown of all of Brooks' fights in the series, not recently, and I sort of had to pause for a second, and it hurt so much that Brooke goes from fighting absolute random fodder to fighting absolute top tiers, and there's no in between, but it's so far and few in between.
I just love his technique. I like how with all the swordsmen we have seen in One Piece, like for instance, Zoro is a close range fighter. Mihawk is all about his technique. Is all about strength. He's like a balanced fighter because he's all about strength and finesse, all about technique. Let me see. Roger was just a full on brawler. We can all agree on that. Roger was just a full on brawler,
Even with
but
a
he could
sword,
back
he
it
was a
up.
brawler.
He was a brawler with a sword, but he could back it up because the way he did Divine Departure was still one of the most legendary things I have ever seen. Let me go down the list. X Drake was pretty awesome with his Excalibur.
No, no, I refute that. X Drake was the biggest letdown in the Supernova,
Ah, oof.
and I can take it from a physical standpoint, or I can take it from a narrative standpoint, because how do we get X Drake trying to join the Alliance, and we don't have Otama
Mm-hmm.
go? That's the man that slaughtered everyone in my village.
Mm, 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 mm.
How do we
Fair,
have
fair.
X
Okay.
Drake join the Beast Pirates and trying to be undercover, and we don't get any acknowledgement of any atrocities he's done? How do we have X Drake be part of the Beast Pirates for 2 years and not display any form of haki?
Mm,
As a former
mm,
Rear Admiral too. Like,
that's fair. Uh,
it hurts. It hurts. I wanted so much more from Drake. There was a time period where I was so adamant that Drake was going to be Zoro's fight in the arc, because it was going to be Zoro coming up against an ancient zone swordsman for the first time, and it was going to be one of those things where Zoro's like, you know how Zoro's normally like never inferior in physical strength? it was going to be like, I was so adamant at one point that it was going to be the one time where someone had a physical advantage over him, and he was like, well, shit, what do I do here?
Because okay, so let me go down the list of good swordsmen. We
Vista.
yeah. I will say that one tall lady,
Amande?
that kind of looks like a snake. Yep, that's the one. She's like very tall, green hair.
I'm gonna
I ain't gonna
be
lie, she was.
I'm gonna be in some red hot shit here. Do you know there's only like, I made a video about this a while back. And I can probably pull it up. There's not even like 7 swordsmen in the series that can use armament hardening.
This is true. There's only like a select few that can use advanced hockey armament on their weapons.
Oh no, I'm just talking about
some
regular
dogs.
armament, like hardening, like
Regular
the black
armor?
cladding.
Ooh, that is true.
There's only like 6 or 7 people. There's Zoro, Virgo, if you want to count Virgo doing it with the bamboo, right?
Mm.
And then there's Cracker, Raisin,
Yeah.
and then Kinemon, Kanjuro, and Fujitora.
I ain't gonna lie, the way Fujitora uses hockey and the way he uses his gravitational fruit was just phenomenal. And I remember growing up as a kid watching The Blind Swordsman. Yes. I remember watching the Blind Swordsman movie.
Badoichi?
And then yep, that's the one. When I saw Fujitora, I was like, yo, it just brought back my childhood memories with my dad.
I do love that. That's sort of I love the themes for it. That's probably one of the reasons why I like One Piece so much, because it's like it's journey to the east or journey to the west, but it's like also not. It's like Alice in Wonderland does Journey to the West.
Yeah. Like for instance, for instance, when it comes to Sun Wukong, I know with the way a lot of characters are based off of pantheons and religions. When I look at Luffy, I also see, not only do I see Sun Wukong, but I also see Hanuman, the great king of the monkeys. Because Hanuman was one of the strongest gods in Hindu mythology, but he also was not just that, but also the spirit of strength and freedom, because he was one of those gods that helped everyone, and he just kept his peace. But if you want to fight him, he just had a war club.
He repped his people well, just like he repped his hands well. Rated E for everyone.
Yes. Yes, because his favorite weapon, because a lot of them had spears. They had spears, swords. He had a war mace, just a big metal. Because if you look at an Indian war mace, you could just be like, how the heck did he? He could just wield it like a feather, just.
All right, changing focus though, going back to the chapter. So we have the chapter start off. Kuma is obviously in utter disarray. The south side of the country is completely up in flames. We find out that King Bakori got this idea from a country in the East Blue, which is obviously the Goa Kingdom. We also saw the events of Luffy's flashback, the Goa Kingdom, happening last chapter. But the events of this happening here, so this is taking anywhere from 10 years ago, but the chapter itself ends 4 years ago. So this can be anywhere within that time frame. It's not clear cut yet how close this is to when it happened to Luffy. It could be the same year as the ASL flashback, or it could be a few years later. I would actually take the effort to say it's a few years later, because Sabo's been in the Revolutionaries. So I would say this is probably closer to 4 years ago, the entirety of this chapter, than it is before that.
Interesting. So like you said, if we do the math, the way this is 1099, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so 1099 starts the flashback 10 years ago of Kuma's backstory, but as we said, with the ASL chapters as well as the episodes in the little movie and the little One Piece movie, it would go like 4 years later with like Sarbo and them and the revolutionaries.
But we know Sabo's already been a revolutionary for a little bit of time because Kuma's already joined the Revs, trained Sabo, left the Revs by this point. So it's after the ASL flashback, and the chapter ends at least before 4 years ago because we see the end of the chapter. Vegapunk's only just made it to Egghead. Vegapunk moved to Egghead 4 years ago after Caesar Clown blew up Punk Hazard.
Interesting.
Which
that makes a lot of sense.
Actually raises an even worse question. When the living F did the warlords become a thing, and who joined in what order? Because 4 years ago, Kuma wasn't a warlord. 2 years ago, Kuma is a warlord. Currently, Kuma is not a warlord again. So, did the warlords start?
Raise a wild...
I'm questioning whether or not the warlords started specifically because of Mihawk and Doflamingo, if they're both celestial dragons or related to celestial dragons, because the warlords named less romanized is the Royal Shibukai. You know what I mean? The Royal Warlords or the Heavenly Warlords.
Yeah.
They don't
like
tend to use that.
Kings.
They don't tend to use that name lightly, do they?
No, they do not.
Especially in relation to the celestial dragons. So it makes sense for Dofi, but also we know that Mihawk used to be called the Marine Hunter years ago, and then they cut that shit out. So I wonder if Dofi and Mihawk become warlords around the same time, starting the premise, and over the course of the previous couple of years, they were trying to get people to join until they got caught up. Because it's actually really important to note that during the events of this flashback here, at the end of it, post the ASL part of the flashback, like earlier on with Sabo trying to train with Kuma, we know that 4 years ago in the main storyline, Ace was offered the position of warlord.
Oh, yeah.
So I wonder if Kuma takes the position of warlord that Ace was offered.
That makes a lot of sense. He must have took his position that was originally for Ace. That explains why he wanted, to help his okay, I'm starting to put the pieces together now.
Because this chapter ends with him making it to Punk Hazard, and obviously we've got Saturn being a little more nefarious, but we know that Kuma's not a warlord yet. But we know in in Ace's novel and Ace's flashback, a big thing was when he made it to the Sabri Archipelago, he was just outright asked to become one of the 7 warlords of the sea. Which implies a gap in the 7 warlords at that point in time when they settled on the number of 7.
That is interesting.
Which I don't know if it works well or not. I'm actually a little upset with Kuma's flashback. Not because I don't like it. I freaking love this flashback. I just thought...
He needs a hug. When I found out about his backstory, I just like, bro, cool. Bring it in, man.
But I think it's weirder to think how recent this is for Kuma. Like, he's only set out as a revolutionary in the last 10 years. You know what I mean? Well, a little bit longer than that, obviously, because of Bonnie. So it was about 12 years.
Yeah, so I'm guessing you feel like it's brought up too early.
Well, I feel like, in a really weird way, all of Kuma's flashback happened really close to the beginning of the story. If that makes sense. Whereas it feels like we're missing... And, I know we had the whole God Valley incident and then he tried to lay low, but I just thought it would have been spread out over the course of his life, not just... It felt really cut off, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because I want to find out how they made the other Kumas.
Which I definitely feel like the end of this chapter is... So I like the way this chapter ends, I definitely feel like we get one more chapter that's half of the chapter in flashback. And then the other half of the chapter is going to be catching up with Bonnie getting chokeslammed by Saturn. And then I think we're out of Egghead by 1105. I don't think we've got more than 6 chapters left in this arc.
I just saw the One Piece episodes when Kid was just talking shiz, and then Law and Luffy just said, "Oh, you said what?"
When they go off, when they sail off of Wano.
Yes.
Yeah.
They said,
"Oh,
you talking."
that was good.
They said that was hilarious. They said, "Oh, you talking shiz."
Yeah, it's
If
funny how well they bait each other.
It's basically like if you just leave your younger siblings unsupervised for like 10 minutes, and then I know Law tries to say he's the serious one, but let's be honest, he the middle, he really is
He's
the middle
the quiet
child.
one. That's it. It's not that he's not involved. He's just the quiet one.
Yeah, but if you just poke him a little, and if you threaten his bear, then he really then he gets active.
We also learned something
Don't
interesting.
mess with a man's bear.
We also learned something interesting this chapter. So we get Kuma versus King Bakori, known as Sorbet's one-man revolution, which, by the way, that name just goes so hard. I freaking love the concept of the one-man revolution. But 2, we see him do an Ursus shock without actually collecting up the air, just as like a pad cannon.
Ooh.
So it implies that he does have variations on these abilities, because we see just that one hand coming out, charging in, and then the entire kingdom blows.
It's almost like, okay, you know how in martial arts they call them different forms, and most they call them, like katas. It's almost like a different type of kata for each form.
Yeah, no, I get
each technique.
Then I don't know if you've seen my video on this. We get potentially the craziest cameo in this entire chapter. Now, this is in the Holy Land of Marijua. The first scene we get with Saturn. Do you have the chapter up? Bring the chapter up for yourself. This is gonna mess with you.
I don't think I got it, but you can tell. Let me.
Okay. We see Saturn sitting in the Room of Authority, and we see an unknown Marine come into the Room of Authority and give Saturn a debrief that King Bakor, the Sorbet Kingdom has a new king, right? Except the person that's breaking this news has some interesting features about them. So it's important to note that we know no one under the rank of Rear Admiral is allowed to even look at Saturn.
This is true, because I like Saturn's design. He just looks like an old demon. He reminds me of Barbatos. He reminds me of like the demons the 72 demons that serve under King Solomon.
So this character at least has to be a Rear Admiral or higher, right? We only see them from behind. We don't see them front on, but they have little legs. They have a very unique marine jacket, which actually has like a furred puff that goes up around the neck and actually like stretches up really high. And they have a very, very, very unique hairstyle that's only shared by one person in the entire story.
Foxy.
Fucking Foxy. And it's
Foxy, isn't it?
I am genuinely sold that potentially Oda is going to turn around and say Foxy is an undercover op. Because Long Ring Long Land is the only arc at the moment that doesn't fit into the main story.
Yeah, because I had a feeling it's gonna be Foxy, because when we saw him, I said, I was like, you sure you a pirate, Foxy? You giving real? I was like, you giving real Navy.
Well, it's important to note, right? This flashback that's happening here, it's obviously got Kuma's flashback, but it's also involving Saturn. Kuma and Saturn were both introduced in the same chapter, chapter 233. Foxy was introduced less than 70 chapters later, the next time that we saw Saturn.
Mm-hmm.
So
I ain't gonna lie. When I saw that Saturn just came through came through the floor, I was like, oh no, that's a demon.
yeah,
That is a whole demon.
man is straight up a monster.
And like I just feel like he's just a devil, and he's just an old demon prince in human skin at this point.
But
I don't know if I'm.
I do not know whether or not this is or isn't Foxy, but he shares the features with Foxy so much so that I'm genuinely sold that it's probably going to be Foxy.
Because I remember when we saw Foxy back in the, I wasn't sold that he was a pirate. Because I remember watching him fight Luffy. I was like, yeah, that don't look like I was dead set on him not being a pirate, because I felt like he was a marine masquerading as a pirate.
I wonder though whether or not he's a rear admiral or whether or not he's a CP member.
Ooh.
Because what better way to gain intelligence than it would be to assimilate pirate crews into a fake pirate crew?
That does happen, because I remember Koro did it.
But I'm gonna leave that part there, because it's just one of those. It's one of those things where it's just like, it's not gonna matter until Oda actually confirms or denies it, and I don't know if it's gonna be an SBS situation or if it's gonna be a main story situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just love the SPS, because you can literally ask Oda about everything. He'll just tell you straight up. Like, they were like, okay, with the devil fruit, can it? He's like, yes.
Yeah.
Will it stretch? Yes. Will it fly off? Yes. Will it shoot fire? Yes. Would it shoot magma? Yes. Would it shoot...
This is where something else interesting happens as well, right? Because we're talking about devil fruits here. On the next page, we get the introduction of quote-unquote adult Bonnie, right? And everyone's surprised because she looks identical to Ginny. And everyone's like, when did you eat this devil fruit? The fact that Bonnie's doing this, but we never saw her eat a devil fruit, I have to ask the question, is it a devil fruit? Or are they just assuming it's a devil fruit?
That's the real question. Like, because I noticed that some of them be making pseudo. I noticed that a lot of times, to manipulate the masses, a lot of times there are pseudo devil fruits.
Well, in this regard, we know that Bonnie is the bastard of a celestial dragon, but we don't know which celestial dragon. Now, if you've ever looked at the gender swapped supernovas, Bonnie looks identical to Shanks. So it's heavily implied that the person that's her father is actually Garling. But to counter that, Sapphire Scale, obviously being heavily with her story being Sapphire and like jewelry Bonnie, right? Sapphire is the Saturn gemstone.
It is.
And
so then there's a possibility that Saturn might be her father.
I think it's a split between Garling or Saturn for her father. I would point out that if Ginny has white hair, not pink hair, and Garling has red hair, red and white make pink. But we don't know what Saturn's natural hair would be because he's got that old hair color, like he's got white hair. But
yeah, because he long in the tooth, because he an old man. But if we were to get a synopsis of what he looked like back in the day,
I'm just gonna say it's super suspicious that we've seen Bonnie beaten, but we've never seen her in Seastone cuffs. We've never seen Seastone on her in the main story, and we never saw her eat her devil fruit, and no one ever saw her eat her devil fruit. So her abilities, if there is something in the world that exists magically that isn't devil fruit related, which is being teased potentially with Saturn at the moment, this could be a direct bloodline link and not a devil fruit.
Ooh, like it's an ancestral. It's more of an ancestral power.
Yes.
Also, the goal. I was in this one live yesterday. One friend Monique. She's like halfway into one. She was asking a One Piece question. She was like, "Is it possible for someone to knock the devil fruit out of somebody?" And I said, "No, because devil fruits essentially become a part of you. They become a part of
Code.
your genetics." So she was just asking because she was talking about hypothetically could someone knock the devil fruit out of a person.
I would say in that regard, the only thing close to it, Blackbeard. But we don't know how Blackbeard's ability works. So we can't say how it does it.
I would say since it's the Yami Yami no Mi, and since it's darkness, right? So darkness in this sense, it's like shadow, darkness. It's like the element of darkness itself. So essentially, with darkness, it does consume light. And we look at the Goro Goro. We looked at. I've noticed with I've noticed with a lot of the devil. I've noticed that the devil fruits are onomatopoeia.
Yep. I think the reason that happens as well is because by giving it onomatopoeia as well, it doesn't pigeonhole in the ability itself, right? For example, Law's ability being the op fruit. Many things can be an operation. You know what I mean?
Yep.
For example, we see that by calling it the op fruit and not like pigeonholing it into a specific thing, he's able to use like the antibacterial curtain as a shield. I think the best example for this in the entire story is what's NL's devil fruit? It's the rumble fruit. What's NL's element? What does NL actually control?
Thunder. Well, essentially lightning.
No. We like in verse they call it thunder and lightning, but we know based on the traits of it that it's not because it's electricity. And because there's a difference between electricity and plasma.
Okay, so it's essentially almost like kinetic and thermal energy, giving since it's electric. Now with the Pika no Mi, it's essentially light.
Oh, with Kizaru's fruit.
Yeah, it's essentially light. It's like I had to explain, like with a friend of mine. He was like, "Wait, aren't they?" He was like, "Wait, isn't electricity, lightning, and light the same thing?" I was like, "Yes and no, but they have different. These elements
Properties.
are one and the same, but they're totally different down the line."
See, I think it's very interesting in how you like pull that distinction. For example, I'd say Green Bull's devil fruit. He's called the Woodwood Man, right? His ability's called the Woodwood fruit. I think it's actually best characterized as the fauna fruit. Like it is
the fauna.
It is any and every type of fauna, but it's got the onomatopoeia of being the Woodwood fruit. Right? So the same thing sort of goes there with like just with all the fruits and that.
Yeah, because for instance, with the flame fruit, as we call it in like the English dub or some, or we know it as mera mera. With the fire.
See,
because I'm surprised they didn't go with like, for instance, Baku. Baku means like explosion. It means like to explode. It's the fire that explodes. So like for instance, like Bakugo or Bakugan.
See, I think the reason why they didn't.
I'm surprised. Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't go with like Baku no Mi.
I think they
like explosion fruit.
I think the reason they didn't do that though is because of the type of powers Oda wants to show. For example, right, Enel's is called the Rumble fruit. It
Mm-hmm.
In verse, they refer to it as the natural ability of lightning, but how it functions is electricity. We know this because he's able to read the electrical impulses from people, and he's able to use electricity to get his heart back into rhythm and restart his brain activity.
Yeah.
If you look at Ace, Ace has an attack and ability called St. Elmo's Fire, which isn't actually fire, it's plasma.
It's plasma. It's thermal energy. It's kinetic and thermal energy. So I would say with one of them. So hear me out. I'm surprised for the Rumble Rumble. I'm surprised it's not called the Rai Rai no me. You know, like
Like
lightning.
Raijin, yeah. The reason
Yeah,
why I think
Rai
they
Rai
do
no
that
me.
though is because it encompasses more than just lightning. So the
Yeah.
onomatopoeia is being used to not pigeonhole it into one specific ability there. So it's,
Yeah, I've noticed that
for
because
example,
with the Mhm.
this will be a really interesting one. The gum gum fruit, right? We know it's actually the sun god Nika fruit, right?
Hita Hita no Mi.
But do you know that there's another play on that? So you know how Luffy's number is 5'6" because it spells Gomu.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Do you know what the surface temperature of the sun is? 5,600 degrees. Gomu.
It is. And then okay, so with Hito, now now in Japan with the element fire itself, fire and flame, you have He, which is the Hi, then you have Ka, which is the Ka, and then you have En with N, because there are different because you are either saying fire, flame, torch, or inferno.
It all comes together. It honestly
It does.
it sucks being an English One Piece fan because there's like as good as One Piece is, being a native Japanese reader is like 70% more references to understand.
Yeah.
Like it's painful.
Because and then yeah, kanji is just so like for instance, when if you watch if you watch fairy tale in the Japanese, when it comes to the dragons, you call them Ryu. Like for instance, when for Natsu, he is known as he's known as Kaien Enryu, you know, the dragon slayer.
Mm,
Cause Ka is fire. Cause when you say Kaien Enyuru, you can say Fire Dragon King.
mm. See, again, it's all the plays on the words, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which, again, like going back to the plays on the words there. Have you guys ever heard the number theory for the Straw Hats?
Yeah.
So you both aware, you know, you've got the Gomu 5'6". Every Straw Hat with the Devil Fruit relates to a number, two numbers from 1 to 10, right? And the only one that they're missing is the Nikyu, 2 and 9, right? Or
2
and
and
10.
9.
Yeah, 2 and 9.
Yo.
Being Kuma. So Oda was asked over a decade ago, is Kuma gonna join the crew? And he just avoided the question. He was like, "Oh shit,
Yeah,
you
he
found
just
that?"
like, bro, really, he really. People were like, Oda, when I catch you, Oda, Oda, when I catch you, Oda, because you know Oda just loves the he'll say some information. Like for instance, like he was like, can he? They were like, he was like, they were asking him, could the people use their other parts of their body with their devil fruit? And this man said yes, and he just
Yo,
ducked everything else.
I'd never even thought of this. So, okay, let me separate this. First thing, I thought, and I'm thinking at the moment, Bonnie's obviously coming with the crew, but she's probably going to join the crew based on the Nikyu thing. I just had the crazy idea. If Kuma does die, do you know who genuinely would probably be the best person to have his fruit on the Straw Hats?
The pawpaw fruit, I would say, let's see, carrot, Chopper already got the human fruit.
Imagine Usopp.
Yo, that would be, and
He
it would,
used to fight with the reject Isles.
yeah,
Now he
and then
fights.
also hear me out. What if he did get the pawpaw fruit, he can use it like a gun.
Well, no, I'm imagining instead of him using it like a gun, he still uses his slingshot and pulls stuff back and then rejects it.
Ooh. Because we
Boost
all
the
know he is
speed.
the king. We all know that Usopp is the king of lies.
And then he can
I-
teleport in conjunction with Van Auger's teleportation.
Ooh. Because imagine, because you know how Usopp be like, I am Captain Usopp. I am a man of 1,000 ships.
Brave warrior of the
I
sea,
also
he
have a
rejects
wife.
his fear.
That would
Yeah,
be
that's
tough.
right. Because he wants that would be tough. I ain't gonna lie. Who do y'all feel like is the who do y'all feel like is the One Piece character that gets the most hate? It's not really like a villain, but it's just a character that just gets the most hate.
There
Because
are
I know
five.
because there's people.
There are 5 people that get hate, and I don't know if it's
Kimon,
deserved or not.
Usopp just gets
can-
a lot of hate. I'll just be
Kimon and
everyone
Usopp get a
just
lot
be
of hate. Who else get a
Foxy,
lot of hate?
Foxy does.
Foxy for sure get a
Foxy.
lot of hate.
Hordy Jones
Yeah, he's
does.
still
Hordy
everyone
Jones.
still got beef with.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
nobody like Horty Jones.
fair.
Saint
Zoro,
Charles.
Oh yeah.
Akainu is a
Oh,
given.
Everybody hates. Well, not everybody. I know a couple
I'm
people
not
that be
okay.
trying to support this.
I'm not gonna lie, right? I hated him with a passion for so long, and then the longer I sat on it, and like, I tried to put myself in his perspective, just to like try and
Nah.
understand, to try and understand the story, to predict stuff, and like the longer I sat in his perspective, I was like, man is in the wrong, but he's a lot less in the wrong based on how everything else in the world goes. Like, if he specifically
Like,
wasn't in opposition of just the Straw Hats, he is probably more right than wrong, even though he's a piece of living shit.
you know
Alright,
what's real crazy? When you really think about it, it's technically his job to be an op.
So,
no, that's what I was just about to say. Like, listen, I don't even really hate him for real. Bro was literally just doing his job. Like,
But he's still
he's
got to
my,
run these ones.
he's only my op because he killed my homeboy
So-
Ace. But the only
Fact.
reason why I don't hate him for killing my homeboy Ace is because he jumped in front of it.
can I ask?
Yeah.
Can I ask a logic question to you guys here?
Oh, what's
Mhm.
up?
Who's the bigger villain, right? If you guys are ordered to kill everyone on an island, who's the bigger villain? The person that kills everyone on the island, or the person that lets someone on the island go, and then another island now needs to be eradicated to get that last survivor?
Ooh. So we really got to be like. So hypothetically, in this case, we're either the admiral or the marine or the warlord or the yonko in this case. So we're either ooh.
Because it comes from it like again, I'm not defending Akainu. He's definitively in the wrong and I hate him. But in the argument of Akainu versus Aokiji, right? For example, with Robin, we know it's okay because we know Robin's a good person. But if it was in the situation where Robin was a terrible human being, and the event still played out like it did, all of a sudden Aokiji letting her go has doomed another island to need to be buster called to get rid of the same problem. So you've doubled the amount of civilian casualties because of your own sense of morale.
Essentially, it's the person that does the job, because I'm gonna be realistic with you.
Yeah,
A
it's the
whole-
person that has a whole island,
Alright, so
villages.
look, this is my whole perspective. I like genuinely sat on this and thought about it, right? It's one thing if it's genuinely just the island that is a whole threat to society as itself. Like, I could understand if they were like plotting for mass genocide, or they're like essentially themselves would have been a problem for the world. I could understand that. But it's more over the fact to the blindness of just following orders. Because I genuinely believe, like, I listen, yo, I play D&D. And when I was creating one of my characters, one thing that stuck out to me when making a character trait for my character was a thing where
Neutrality?
Yeah, there was literally a thing where it's all like following orders blindly was a true was truly damage to oneself as it is. It was something like that, and I'm like, yo, I never read
Yeah,
something truer than that. And so yeah,
you know how
following
it says
blind
like the
orders,
sheep mentality.
yeah. So this is the way I would look at it, right? It's depending on the person that follows blind orders or the person that looks deeper beyond what is the motion or no the notion of why his orders are such.
So
Yeah, it's
let
like
me
in the
ask you this then.
military.
We know Aokiji has like been in the situation to execute innocent people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that's part of his
Yep.
job. So in the situation of O'Hara, right? He's already killed 99 like maybe not him personally, but he's already contributed to killing 99.999% of civilians in that area.
Oh, he's definitely been a benefactor.
So
Definitely an accomplice and a benefactor to the deaths.
I think I think it's a hard situation, right? Because it's like who's the greater villain in that regard becomes more of the nuance of like, if you've already killed most of the civilians, killing a few more to make sure the job is done and that you don't have to repeat it, as fucked up as that is probably better than doing most of it and then at the end doing a half-assed
Yeah.
job.
Okay, it's like in nature. Okay, when most animals take over another territory, the things they do,
The
they
cubs in
actually
that.
kill the family of the other predators so they can take out the competition.
Hmm.
But in this case, or take out threats to their family, because that's what most of the big cats do.
It's messed up, but it's one of those things where it's like I think it's a very interesting morale
Mm-hmm.
circumstance there. Because
Yeah.
put it this way, as fucked up as Akainu gets betrayed to us as well, he spared Aokiji at the end, didn't he? It was
He
meant to be a
did. Like
fight to a death, but
that's
he
cool.
he gave him a hand and said like, "Dude, go on your way."
Yeah, they went. Yeah, they fought. Yeah, they we saw the ice and the fire, and these two just went full on at it to see who could be the supreme admiral,
Fleet Admiral, yeah.
Mm.
the fleet admiral, and then Aokiji lost the leg. And, he didn't come out
Okay,
of it unscathed, that's for sure. But homie went about his way.
Our QT froze Magma.
I have to take this time to defend my person here, right? And that's with you know the duel between Aokiji and Akainu.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest glossed over thing about that is Sengoku nominated Aokiji for the role. Aokiji didn't know he got nominated. Aokiji only came out in furious opposition when Akainu was nominated by other people, right?
That's right.
Meaning
Because he was like, nah, this nigga can't be fleet admiral. Because he
meaning
just like, nah, I don't.
the entire time Aokiji thought that it was going to be Kizaru who becomes fleet admiral. So each one of them thought it was going to be one of the others.
Yeah. And then Kizaru over here just chilling.
I mean, Kizaru's essentially doing what Fleet Admiral does now anyway, taking orders directly from the Gorosei, except he's not stuck behind a desk.
Nah, he ain't on disc duty. This man always be on the field. I ain't gonna lie. I like his design, and I always thought this man was always on the using the Pico no mean to light his cig. You feel me?
It's look, it's one of those things where I have to bring it up every time someone starts talking about that because they use it to downplay Kizaru there a lot, being like, oh, he was never even thought of for the role. It says a lot more because I know a lot of people gas up Aokiji in that situation, right? They
He is the favorite. He is.
Yeah.
I would say out of the fleet admirals in the One Piece community as a whole
He's the most
around the
liked.
world nationwide, Aokiji is the most favored.
Yeah. It says a lot when our Kiji's like, yo, I thought it was going to be Kiz. What are we talking about?
That says it with that entire statement by Aokiji. That says a lot about Kizaru as a person and as a member of the admirals and the Marines. So he believes he is qualified to do it.
Hmm.
So let that sink in.
And I'd also like to
But
point out
most of the time, people underestimate Kizaru.
now that we're at Egghead and we're actually seeing it play out as well, it's also important to know Kizaru will follow the orders that he has to, even if he's voicing that he disagrees with them. So,
Guys, now that we're talking about it, can we acknowledge the fact that we're gonna actually hear the goat dragon talk soon?
don't get my hopes up like that. Are we okay? Wait.
Yeah.
I wanna see. You know, put your money where your mouth is right now. Anyone think Dragon's showing up by the end of Egghead?
I hope so.
We about to see the goated deadbeat dad of the century come back.
I think this arc ends in the next 6 chapters or under.
The only thing about Egghead, there's a couple plausibilities because wasn't Blackbeard already supposed to be around the area?
Yep, Blackbeard's been on Egghead for a day, or not him directly, but one of his ships that most likely was Katarina Devon and Lafitte.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I ain't gonna
with
lie, my favorite
Blackbeard,
part in the manga is when the Blackbeard pirates thought it was a good idea to try to fight the Heart pirates, and they just got mollywopped.
I mean,
They didn't get out of it unscathed. It was hilarious.
they did pretty decent against the Heart Pirates. The Heart Pirates had a... So, how did the Heart Pirates show more against the Blackbeard Pirates than they did on Wano? When they were actually meant to be fighting for their life.
Look, I ain't gonna lie. When Law became a woman, I was like, well, this is gonna get demonetized. When I saw the female Law, I said, well, this is gonna get demonetized on a few websites.
Yo, think about how funny it's gonna be when you get to play as Jewelry Bonnie and as Doc Q in video games going forward.
I'm just waiting for all the people to beat these allegations after Bonnie got revealed for her age.
Don't check the previous streams.
Now with the Paw Fruit's powers, it would be cool to see Usopp get it. Because we all seen he has like the potential to be one of the best observation hockey users, because he's a sharpshooter.
I'm gonna be genuinely honest with you. If Usopp had the Paw Fruit, he would genuinely be the best sniper ever in the world. Because listen, his accuracy is already amazing, and his fire rate don't get me started.
So I just wish my boy just had the gat. Like, give him a musket. Like, if my boy had like a musket, it'd be over.
Imagine
if he
if he eats the pawpaw fruit or not. 3 biggest things that would be the most interesting thing, right? Delayed sniper shots by putting paws out that are just sitting there, and after a set period of time, hit an object to shoot it.
Ooh, I got an idea. Hear me out. Hockey bullets. Compressed hockey.
I don't really see him using armament hockey too much. I could definitely see him using the Paw Fruit to like max out his mobility, because he could really just move anywhere he wants just to get away from an opponent and start spamming his sniper. Honestly,
I think there's only 2 snipers in verse that have
also
hockey.
Get into a secure position since he is a sniper, because being a sniper or a long gun, you have to have a secure position, and you gotta hide in plain sight.
See, I think there's only 2 snipers in One Piece, and they're actually snipers that have armament hockey bullets, and I think it's Yasop and Ben Beckman, and it's just those 2, and it's everyone else has snipers, but either focuses more on observation or focuses more on type of gun and ammunition.
Ben Beckman is
Yeah,
kind of a given, but like Ben Beckman ain't even really just a sniper for real. That man be in the fields with it.
Well, I think of
yeah.
Ben
Because
Beckman.
also, I know, and the big guy who was always eating. That man was
Lucky
fast. I
Roo,
ain't gonna lie.
See,
Yep.
I
yeah,
see.
Lucky Roo was like said to be one of the fastest.
I see Ben Beckman as the kind of person, right, that he's got one bullet in the gun, but because he puts so much like haki into it, when it shoots, it's like a shotgun or a 50 cal sniper getting shot out of like a fucking handgun.
I think
Like a
I
50
see more
cat,
as
like
a
a
like
Desert Eagle.
Yeah.
no that one pistol that man got. That's a baby rifle, a baby sniper rifle. The way he used it, I promise you, that shit's going. He's
Yeah,
getting
and he
three
was
Yeah,
like,
kills
no,
with
"Ayo,
well,
one
okay.
bullet.
Yeah,
when
okay.
Snake was like, "Ayo, since you pulled out your," he was
It's
like, "Since you pulled out your stick, are you going to use it?" And the nigga like, "Huh? If the gun, once you pulled out that gun, you better put your life on the line. It's for
Instant
action."
if
And this
you
casualty.
man,
if you look at how he
Imagine
fights,
being bro. Imagine being built like a watermelon. You catch the first body of the
dude,
show.
I mean, hey, dude, Lucky Rouge is that guy.
and he smiled. Look, what makes it
Yeah,
even more
he was
is
munching on
that
his meat,
nigga
bro.
smiled
Pause.
But Ben Beckman though, right? He's got like
with
he's got a
with the
50 cal
meat leg.
sniper, but he's like cut it in half like a sawn off shotgun, and he's just waiting to point blank, just literally put it point blank on someone and just blow an arm off. Sorry, kid.
Bro, all he was waiting for is for Shanks to give him the go, cause j- this man just teleported somehow and said, while still eating the food in his mouth and grinning.
Bro was chilling while he busted that bullet, bro.
You know, he
Bro,
reminds me of.
he's. That's how you know he's been doing this, cause
Okay.
you know how much experience you have to have if you can enjoy your dinner while catching a body.
We're never gonna
Yes.
see this, but I've always thought about like, and I'll probably need to do a series on this one day. One Piece what ifs, right? What if
Ooh.
the Straw Hats make it to Laugh Tale? It's like when I say what if, I'm asking how would you feel for this what if, right? We make it to Laugh Tale, but Blackbeard beat us
Mm-hmm.
there. Luffy, there's a scene, you can't quite make out what's actually on the island yet. It's all like whited out. All you can sort of see is like the focus of the panel. There's like a stairwell going up to the top. Luffy's running there, and we see Blackbeard emerge from the top of the stairs. And like Luffy's like gearing up, getting ready to fight, and Blackbeard's just walking down the stairs, and he gets side by side with Luffy, and he just says it's not worth it. And then you just hear bang, and he's pulled out one of the three pistols and just ended it.
Ooh.
Because he's wasted his life, killed his friends for a treasure that's just going to be a funny story. The complete inverse of what Luffy's done, which is gather friends for the story. It would be cheap to have that happen to Blackbeard, but how would you feel? Like something dramatic as shit, like Blackbeard getting close, if not achieving the goal, and him just going like, it's not what I thought it was. And there's just the rest of his life catching up with him in that regard. All his guilt, everything he's done, any remorse he could have had.
All his sins and repentance just flows onto him.
Because I could also see it
I
happen.
could definitely see that. No, honestly, y'all, New World, you're onto something, bro. Because listen, this man has done a lot of outrageous things in his life, and
Very
he's shown
grimy.
no regret. But up until now, if he for just this one thing, he did all these things and not look back just for this one thing for it to not even be worth it, I could definitely see him
Yeah,
taking his own
and
life.
then would be real crazy? What if, since with the Yami Yami no Mi being like darkness and shadow itself, what if he just lets go and goes into the darkness?
If that was going to happen, I'd say instead of him going into the darkness, being a man that's as greedy as him that's had two devil fruits, I would see him going into the abyss and drowning. He has to be
Yeah.
the only on-screen death of a devil fruit user from drowning.
Ooh.
Because if you freeze from eating a devil fruit, if you can't move when you get in the water, If you've eaten 2 devil fruits, surely you sink like a rock.
Yo, he would just be. You know, it'd be funny. What? Okay, so we all know the historical pirate Blackbeard and how he died.
Maynard
What if?
multiple laps around the ship after being beheaded.
I ain't gonna lie. What if Blackbeard's death is the same as Blackbeard?
I would see it being similar, but swapped up a bit. Right? For example, right?
Just a wee bit censored.
For example, at the moment, right, we're getting a lot of stuff with Blackbeard and Kobe, right? Like, there's almost a lot of setup for the two of them. Personally, I don't think Kobe's story continues having any relation to Blackbeard. I feel like all of Kobe's story moving forward is going to be shifted to the Cross Guild. Because...
Oh, I forgot one. I forgot one that people hate. The homie Kobe.
I don't think people
don't
hate
on
Kobe. I don't think people hate on him. I think he gets appropriate hate. Because...
No, like, yeah, people...
I mean,
they
be
are,
trolling, they be roasting his shit,
I've
but
seen
they
people
don't be
that
hating
have,
on him.
like, the meanest hate for this. I said,
mean,
why y'all hating on Kobe?
I never met that fan base.
They took a potato and turned him into a fine, crispy chip.
No, so
I just
yeah.
what you
So
said.
Fanofa, I'm sure you're flabbergasted, but yes, I've seen people on TikTok. I'm no cap, no bullshit. I've seen people actually hate on Kobe.
I don't think it's hate. Like, put it this way, right? People putting Kobe in the top 50. If you don't put him in your top 50, I don't see that as hate. I see that as Kobe's best feat in the story is something that we saw King Elizabetho and Don Chinjiao do. Right?
Mm-hmm. But still, I still remember the fraud. I still can't believe the fraud allegations on Roger, though. Those things were crazy. Because everyone's like, man, look, they were like, man, he didn't get, man, they probably just gave them the title Pirate King. He wasn't all that. Man, he was long in the tooth. Man, he was an old man. There's no, I'm like, do y'all forgotten? Have y'all forgotten the golden rule of anime? You don't mess with the grandpas.
If you have been in the One Piece fandom for long enough, anyone that has a decent title that hasn't been shown, people always call a fraud. And then eventually you get them fleshed out. You get them fleshed out. Most of the One Piece community has the worst case of recency bias. Right?
Bro, the One Piece community hates so much, it's not even funny. Because, like, why can't we just approve?
See...
No, I've noticed it's like the same thing with all the three of the big three. It's like for some reason when it comes to like the debates and everything, it's just that it just opens up a whole. It's like a whole. It just opens up a hole where all the other so-called fans and stands just be like, no, this is a fraud. This is a traitor. It's like the same thing with like when people say Ichigo is a bland character.
Ichigo's not a bland character. He's just a regular kid in a blandish world.
He just be minding his business. It's so crazy how people just hate it when an anime character just minds his biz.
I don't know how people would really genuinely feel if they woke up one day, had powers, and they're like, oh, these powers are cool, and then had to start fighting life or death fights, and then every other week their house is getting broken into and their loved ones are getting threatened. You get over that shit quick.
They'd be like, they'd be like, oh, Ichigo's powers is weak. Oh, he doesn't do... I'm like, he has to burn his entire body and his soul. And he pushes through it. Like, don't disrespect my boy Ichigo.
It's painful. But in the case here, for like, okay, Kobe's an example, right?
Mm-hmm.
People hating on Kobe... Like, I can understand not liking the character, even though I personally like him. But, like, Kobe and Garp are literally just Deku and All Might. Without their own series.
Are.
It's the exact same dynamic, the exact same plot, the exact same relationship with each other.
Basically,
and they
same
also
characters
almost
too.
have, like, a familiar bond.
The characters damn near act the same too. Kobe used to be a crybaby until he teed up.
Yeah. Like, they are identical. So it's like, I can understand not liking him, because I can understand not liking Deku at times, right? But
like I could understand not liking the character and it's not your cup of tea, but that's
hate's
going a little too
hate's
far.
a
You
little
feel me?
effort. You gotta
Listen, I
have
generally
energy to
feel
hate someone.
like. And listen, I generally feel like hating on Kobe is outrageous because, bro, this man came a long way in
Okay.
2 months.
That's what I'm saying. And people be.
I've just got to fucking throw this out there, right? I think Kobe moving forward in the story and Helmeppo, their biggest things are going to be they're going to take down Cross Guild. Not Mihawk. Not Mihawk and not Crocodile, but specifically Buggy and Alvida.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. The homie, I remember as a kid, I was like, man, Helmeppo sucked. I remember as a kid, watching the OG One Piece. I was like, man,
I still
Helmeppo
think
sucks. But
Helmeppo's weak. I ain't gonna lie.
Oh, he's definitely weak. But do you know what I think is the best thing about Helmeppo?
His character development, that's the best I can give him.
He's currently a lieutenant. Right? He's currently a lieutenant. His father became a captain. He's one rank away from the same rank that his father held at the beginning of the story. But with the way the story's progressed now, Helmeppo's gotten to a point where he understands what it would mean to be a captain. He's also grown emotionally enough to not be a spoiled brat and to actually care about other people. Right?
Oh, it's the fact that he's literally one rank under his dad.
Yep. Think about this, right? The Homecoming end of series, right? Helmeppo, I think, is only ever going to achieve the rank of captain. He's going to become the same rank as his father. But what's going to happen is, at that rank, he's going to return back to the East Blue and take over his father's position. And he's going to be the beloved Captain Morgan's son instead of the feared one, right? At the same time,
because I can see that.
At the same time, Captain Kuro, Captain Kuro, the person that got credit for capturing Kuro when Kuro faked his death was Axehand Morgan. Django hypnotized Morgan into thinking he was great enough to capture Kuro. So Axehand Morgan arguably isn't a bad guy. He's been hypnotized into thinking he's not a good guy.
He was just manipulated with a devil. Ooh.
So now that Django's part of the Marines and Helmeppo's aware of it, it would be interesting come end of the story having Helmeppo, Django, and Full Body return to the East Blue as captains. And in the process, an adult Helmeppo finds his father and dehypnotizes him. And then you get a reunion between father and son. And
that would be bittersweet.
No, I bet you Helmeppo's gonna get a nickname damn near like his dad's, like dual hand Helmeppo, dual hand Morgan or some shit. I bet you.
Twin Blade Morgan, or
exactly Twin Blade Morgan, something like that.
Yeah, because with his weapon of choice. Yeah, because with Helmeppo's weapon of choice, he has I think he got like they look like Gurkhas.
They're called kukri knives. It's a specific it's a specific type of like curved hilt blade. They're very similar to like an Egyptian Middle Eastern blade that actually like has a double blade edge that comes down.
It almost because there's also the Egyptian blade called the Kopesh. It's about as long as a gladius, but it also has like it's like a cross between like a hatchet, but also a sword at the same time, because this was also the similar sword that they used in Mesopotamia, and this was possibly one of the weapons that Gilgamesh used in the epic. But yeah, they're like kukri knives, and cause there's a military battalion in Nepal. They're called the Gurkhas, and they are one of the most feared battalions in this world.
Good soldiers.
In our world.
Yeah. They're decent.
And they use the kukri. That's like their standard knife.
I think come into series, the East Blue characters are going to become... They're going to be coming full circle really late. Like, for example, Kobe's probably going to get credit for fighting Buggy. And it's also the only Yonko that Kobe could probably fight.
Yeah,
Right?
if we really... I could see him I could see, be funny. I can actually see Buggy
Bobby could whoop
Buggy being
Blackbeard's
Buggy.
ass. I
He
ain't
gonna
gonna lie
try to
to you.
look, but I could knowing Buggy being Buggy, he gonna try to attack Cody because he gonna feel like he's the weak link of the average. So
Dude,
I feel like, can we all agree that Buggy's gonna try to swing first?
I think he will, but I think the crazy thing's going to be... They're going to be some... like, this might sound disrespectful to Kobe here. I think Kobe and Buggy are going to be relative. To an extent. Kobe's going to have the Haki, Buggy's going to have the Devil Fruit. But I think the big thing that's going to come down is Kobe's going to capture Alvida. End of story.
No, listen, I'm not gonna lie. You gotta remember, Buggy is only immune to slashing.
Yes.
If Kobe can land one solid shot to his gut or his face, it's over. Doesn't matter if it's separated or not.
But he
Facts.
can separate
Like,
around the
if he could
punches
get
as
him
well.
one good, I ain't gonna lie. If my boy Kobe gets one good hockey fist into his midsection, it's over.
Do you know what the problem with that is?
Mm-hmm.
We've never seen anything knock out Buggy. When Luffy first beats
That
him,
is true.
he punches him to another island.
Buggy has been shown to be relative to Luffy and Impel Down in Marineford.
See, the crazy thing is, when Buggy first shows up, he gets punched to another island, doesn't get knocked out. And that's after getting kicked in the nuts. Right? The next time he shows up is Log Town.
Most attacks are immune.
Next time he shows up is Log Town, gets hit by an attack from Dragon. Doesn't get knocked out. Right? That lightning strike, we're assuming that's from Dragon?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. When he was trying to execute Luffy, yeah.
Then doesn't get knocked out from that. Shows up in Impel Down, is getting attacked by Awakened Zones, not getting knocked out. Getting hurt. He gets hurt. But it's like... It's kind of like Blackbeard, right? He cops the lumps, but he doesn't cop the total KO. The closest thing to him getting knocked out is he was frozen by Aokiji.
Yeah. But I'm still on the fact. I'm still dead set on the devil fruits changing a person's taste buds. I'm still dead set on that because the way Blackbeard liked the pie, he said it was delicious. But Luffy, being a food person, Luffy will eat anything. But he's saying the food is disgusting. Nah, there's something to that.
Luffy has never said any food ever tasted bad. Other than the pie. So that
means theoretically, hear me out. That means that pie it actually tastes awful. But to a person with a yummy no mi, eating disgusting things is actually good.
Essentially, I feel like the yummy no mi takes away everything away from you except the things you feel. Honestly.
Okay, I think of it like this. Blackbeard says the pie tastes amazing, the drink tastes horrible. Luffy says the inverse. Then they both walk outside, and Blackbeard goes, "That drink really was amazing." So, I think part of that scene there is also less to do with the actual food and stuff, and more to do with them trying to flex on each other. To an extent, right? Because at least Blackbeard there admits he's lying after the fact. Because he changes his mind on the taste of it. You know what I mean? So I wonder if if Blackbeard, even if it's in the sense that it's symbolic of their journeys, right? Luffy's always honest with it. Luffy loves food. That's the only time he's ever voiced that he didn't like food, right? So say even if it's just a reflection of that's the honesty, but Blackbeard lied, and Blackbeard's like, no, I love it, only for him to walk away and maybe not like it as much as he said he did, even though he bought 100 of them, and even though his favorite food is cherry pie. You know what I mean? There could be some more like thematical shit in that. But again, bringing you back to chapter 1099 here. We get a freaking montage of Kuma trying to cure Bonnie, going to all the islands where he cured where he sent the Straw Hats, with 3 things of note happening in this flashback section here, right? The first one is, the first panel we see, what freaking island is that?
The island that they're on, or the island that he went to?
Oh, sorry. Okay. I've read that then. I didn't realize I was looking at the It was still on Sorbet Kingdom. I don't know why. I thought I just disassociated that then. I was looking at the like ruins of it, and I've never seen that island before. It's after Kuma's rebuilt the kingdom. Sorry, that is my stupidity there. But the other 2 things in this flashback, Kuma goes to Mihawk's castle, but
Oh yeah.
Mihawk only recently set up residence there. So was Mihawk already living there when Kuma was there? Because we know that this country was destroyed by a war pretty recently, right?
If y'all hear me munching in the background, I got pretzels.
No, that's all good. But we see here with Kuma when he arrives there, the island's like already in ruin, right? So Kuma has to have gotten there like very soon after the island got destroyed by war.
Very recently.
Yeah.
Yup. So my whole thing was, I don't know if Mihawk was there when Kuma got there, or maybe Kuma referred
do y'all
to that
think
place for Mihawk.
The other crazy thing is, relating to the other warlord, is we never see Kuma go to Amazon Lily.
That's true.
Because I think from a lazy power scaling perspective, a lot of people have been like, well, can Kuma just send someone anywhere in the world even if he doesn't know where it is? Or does he just send them like randomly to places? Right? Well,
okay, so I definitely have an answer for that. So Kuma, you know that Bible that Kuma has?
Yep.
That's a geography Bible.
It is.
Yes, because we see in the flashback it talks about different locations like Sky Islands.
I remember a skit. It was about how, since he's a holy man, it said, I may be soft in my Bible, but I'm from the south side of heaven. Hallelujah. And it just starts to
Because
bringing a whole new meaning to Bible bashing.
Because it's basically like, hey, it's basically like saying Kuma is basically Simon Peter, if you get that reference, because when the people try to arrest Jesus, Simon Peter may or may not have cut off a Pharisee ear. But what's the real crazy part is he did it twice on the same person.
The next thing we get is, coming out of that section of the flashback, we get the meeting with Kuma and Dragon, right? And this is the only time in the entire story we've seen Dragon smile. And it feels...
that man always on business.
That it feels unnerving.
He really is.
Right?
I mean, since he is called a dragon, most of the time when people are called dragons, they're either good, because we have good dragons, benevolent dragons, but in this case, he's a dragon that's just on business, almost on that acnologia timing. You feel me?
But he's also a pacifist. Like he's a violent pacifist, right? He's hoarding life.
He doesn't like to fight, but he does it because he has to.
Yeah, he does. It's like someone was talking about how it was like a whole protest. They were talking about it was one person was like, I don't want to shoot someone coming into my house, but I will, to protect my house. So he like, hey, I don't like fighting. He's like that one. I would say he reminds me of the Ryujin in Shinto mythology, The dragon god in Shinto mythology, he's the god of the storm, the sea, but he just be chilling in the water. But if you disturb his sleep from the ocean, he gonna come up with that smoke. Just like
Exactly.
Lugia, just like Rayquaza and Lugia. Like most of the time, they just be minding their business, but they is still territorial. They be like, "Hey, you in my hood? Dragon Blast!
You're disturbing my peace."
So
You disturbing my.
it's interesting here, right? We have Bello Betty ask Kuma's permission to join as the leader of the Eastern Army. I find that interesting because we've seen Bello Betty previously in flashback with Ginny in the background. Right? So she's actually like probably Ginny's lieutenant from the past. Right? Current Bello Betty has the highest bounty known out of all revolutionaries other than Sabo. Out of all of the revealed bounties, she has the highest. So this girl, in 4 years, got into this position and said it's time for business.
Well, that's in.
This is true. She went up the ranks.
So I've got like a scary like eye out for Bello Betty because she's got a 400. I think it's 447 mil bounty.
Yeah, that's how many berries.
Like, she's...
What was Dragon's berries?
We don't know. Dragon's bounty has never been revealed.
He just has the highest in the world.
I've got my prediction on it. I think it's 6,660 mil.
Ooh. Do y'all think Luffy will ever reach that?
Maybe.
I think Luffy's never gonna have the highest bounty in the world. I think Luffy's bounty is gonna cap at 5,600 mil, which surpasses Roger. But I think Dragon's bounty is always going to be over that, but it's not going to be a problem because Luffy's going to achieve what Dragon never does.
Interesting.
So, okay, put it this way, right? Gold Roger, Pirate King, the greatest pirate, full stop, right?
The GOAT.
He has a 5.5 mil bounty, right? Whitebeard, the world's strongest man, has a 5 mil bounty. But, as the world's strongest man, he's 666 centimeters tall. So he's 6 meters 66 tall.
21 feet.
Right? I look at Dragon being the world's most wanted man, getting the same sort of attention as Whitebeard there, which is why I think he's going to be 6 mil, 666 mil.
And then there's Rocks.
Weirdly enough, I don't think Rocks ever capped 5 bill. And I don't...
Then what about... Then if that's the case, then Big Mom and Kaido's bounties are...
I think it's important to think of Rocks as going down before he ever reached his peak. Right?
I ain't gonna lie, knowing Rocks, he was like, man, they jumped me, cuh. They jumped me.
Because...
Maybe.
Thinking of it like this, right? Kaido and Big Mom, they have their like crazy bounties now 40 years after the Rocks incident. You know what I mean? That's 40 more years of grinding, and we know Big Mom at that, like, by the time she was on Rocks, at least had a 500 mil bounty. So in 40 years, she got like a 3.8 bill increase at most. Oh, sorry, no. Yeah, 3.8 bill, right? So to me, Rocks, depending on how old he was, which I don't think he was really, like, I don't think he was older than 50, right?
He had that old man strength, you feel me?
I think Rocks is one of the really rare examples we'd get of, like, we get Luffy. Luffy gets his whole journey. He's going to be crazy at the end. We got Roger. Roger had his whole journey, crazy at the end. Whitebeard, his whole journey, crazy at the end. I think Rocks is an example of someone of that same caliber who stopped their journey at the halfway point.
Yeah, and then we have Rayleigh, the goat, and Rayleigh's bounty was
Right. Are you talking about Dark King
We don't
Silver's
we
Rayleigh?
don't know Rayleigh's bounty yet, but I would say it's implied to be less than 3 bill at the moment.
Wait. You mean Dark King?
Yeah.
Silver's Rayleigh? No,
Yep,
if we're gonna
that's the
address
one.
my go, we're gonna address him properly.
Mayo Rayleigh. Got to put the mayo in
That is
there.
Yeah,
more like it.
Got to put the mayo.
That is more like it.
Just like if I'm,
I can fuck with that. Do it one more time. Yeah, do it one more time.
Okay, we're gonna hype up Rayleigh because it's important, right? Mayo Rayleigh. Because when we hype up Rayleigh, what we're really doing as well is hyping up Kizaru. Ooh.
Ooh, no. I just like the fact that it just looks like Kizaru's just on the Tsar. Bro just be kicking it, and
No,
but if
you
you
wanna-
cross him,
You want to talk about who's on the Tsar? 10 out of 10. Aokiji was on the Tsar, and that's why he's friends with Smoker. Smoker was the
definitely.
connection.
yo, that
No, let's talk about it. Cause why in the Jesus piece was this motherfucker? He pulled up when Smoker was dead ass about to die and said, "Nah, I can't let you do that, though." He said, "Hey,
nah,
yo."
that's facts.
He did. I said, "Yo, Mingo,
I ain't gonna lie.
I'm sorry." He
Have
was all
y'all
like,
noticed when
"Mingo."
Smoker was beating up Luffy, and then the rain came, and then Smoker could do nothing?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Dragon?
Let's really talk about it. I believe Dragon, since we talk about how dragons have dominions over the weather,
Dragon
there might be
showed
a
up.
correlation with his. There might be a correlation.
Dragon showed up, put his hand on this man's Smoker and said, "Yo, I let you beat my kid for a round. Now give me the Tsar." Right?
He's like, I smell it on you.
Cut-
You got the smoke fruit for a reason. I
Cut
can
2
smell
years
it on you.
later, right? Aokiji's Netflix and chilling, watching. He's just sitting back and watching the underworld market, seeing the, it's like porn stars, but for fucking underground weapons, right? And then he sees his boy Smoker there.
It's just the criminal underground.
He sees his boy
criminal
Smoker there,
underworld.
and he's like, my hookup is about to get fucking done in. I gotta get out here, otherwise I'm not gonna be able to get any Tsar. And if I can't get any Tsar, I'm gonna be stuck with the Z-ha-ha, right? And he don't want that.
This is fair. Also, I would say who's definitely a plug. Definitely Brooke.
You wanna know who's?
Brooks, stay hard.
You wanna know who's a plug of the other variety? Our boy Vasco Shot. Vasco Shot out here, right? Giving Blackbeard the henny for his honey and honeys.
This is factual.
I ain't gonna lie.
My boy Blackbeard got Beehive Island because my boy likes the honey. He likes food, right? He likes the sweet stuff. He got girls sitting on either arm. He's got his other honeys. He's got his honey, and then he's got his honeys.
Look, if y'all know epic rap battle of history, as Snoop Dogg said as Moses, the milk and honeys.
That's Blackbeard. Man out here, day in and day out, getting blind drunk. Vasco Shots the hookup, right? He's got his boy Aokiji doing runs to Smoker, right? He's just living his best life.
I ain't gonna lie, like, as much as I want to throw hands with Blackbeard, I can't deny that this man likes to get lit. I can't deny this. I can't deny that this man likes to get lit.
He be turned. I ain't gonna cap.
Look, he messed up, but his like the people that are on good terms with him because they're having a drink with him, they're pretty lit, man. They're getting pretty smashed.
They be kicking it. I ain't gonna lie, Kizaru definitely be kicking it.
Kizaru is the dude that works way too hard, way too much, and then as soon as it's clock off, instead of going home, goes out with the office boys for drinks, and wakes up.
Now, to me, Kizaru seems like a liquor man.
Yeah,
I feel or a whiskey.
He's the dude.
He seems like a bourbon or a whiskey.
he's on that I say the 9 to 5. He's on that Japanese culture of all you do is work and go to karaoke and get pissed and go back to work. You sleep at the office.
That's right. Because the 9 to 5 in Japan is crazy. Because half the time them niggas is working 24/7. Then afterwards they go for a drink, and then they go back to work, go for a drink, back to work, go for a drink, eat
Yes.
sushi, go for a drink, eat ramen, go for a drink, eat takoyaki, and then go to bed and do the same thing.
Like, we know Kizaru
Yeah.
doesn't look like he gets sleep.
Yeah, because some of these motherfuckers,
Nope.
they'll dead at their job.
Yeah. Dude.
Like, they don't sleep. Like, they just be. I'm talking about they probably go with paper. They're like, "Hey yo," they be like, "Hey yo, what? Someone killed the island? Really? Again? Dang, I gotta do some paperwork."
They doing so much paperwork. You've seen the vice admirals on Egghead at the moment. That one dude, Chinzilla, with the 30 chins. That dude is out here developing scoliosis because he's hunching over too much day in and day out, filling out paperwork for the Marines.
Meanwhile, Michelin's still in the bathroom.
And y'all talking about Marine this, Marine that. Listen, I'm sorry, but I don't want to have to be sitting behind a desk or fighting for my life just to put a nigga behind jail every damn day. I want to be free,
No, facts.
sailing the sea.
I'd rather be a pirate. I ain't gonna lie.
Honestly, if it was me, I probably would just end up doing some Bartolomeo shit. Find yourself a small little slice of heaven, take over some towns, not like Arlong, but like, you know, don't subjugate the people, but like,
just be a good. Okay, it's like a Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
You would be a good daimyo.
Yeah, you be a good piece of shit, like stern enough that people aren't gonna fuck with you, but also chill enough that the people are like, look, I can't afford a payment this week. It's cool, you're off the hook, but you know, you gotta help out.
You better bring me my money.
Yeah.
It's like Seven Deadly Sins. You know, like with Camelot when Arthur started using chaos.
Yeah.
Camelot wasn't attacked. Camelot wasn't attacked no more because they knew not to cross Arthur.
Who do you reckon? Which organization has, like, excluding the Straw Hats, which organization do you reckon actually has, like, the most fun?
The most fun?
Minx.
That's a fair
That's just
answer.
off the top of my head.
That is a fair answer.
Yeah, definitely Minx.
Who else?
I would say the Straw Hats because they be getting litty.
Listen, though. He said excluding them.
Giants.
Excluding them? Yeah.
I reckon the Giants can party hardy.
Hey, the Giants.
Yeah, the
crazy.
Giants definitely.
Hey, listen.
I feel like the Amazon Lily could party.
Oh, definitely Amazon Lily. But listen, I don't necessarily fuck with the Foxy Pirates, but they can get down.
True. Like they can still run the ones. They can still run me my ones, Afro Luffy style, in the ring. But I ain't gonna deny that they get litty.
Is this Finofo's secret way of telling me that he like secretly has a little crush on Hamburg?
She could get it. Listen. Hold on.
He's a man. Finofo is a man of culture. I gotta respect my boy.
But listen, if you want to know who my all-time waifu is from One Piece, it would have to either be Mami Nami or.
That's right. He do like Nami.
That's okay. No. That's fine. Me and you don't have to share.
The only reason why I don't say Robin is because I actually dated a girl that looked like Robin.
For me, it's Robin, right? But this is perfect because we're not fighting over the same person. We're chill.
Right. Yeah, we're perfectly fine.
Meanwhile, I'm over here with Boa.
Dude, you shoot your shot, man. I sure as shit wouldn't.
Yeah.
I like Boa.
You can have Boa.
Give it, okay, for me, I'm like a good morally person. I'm like the white part of the yin. For some reason, every waifu that I like are usually evil. It's like yin and yang.
Hey,
listen. Listen, I don't typically like the soft talkative girls, but I got a soft spot for Corona.
Okay,
Like for
this will
instance,
make
like
you laugh your ass off. My wife can dead ass do the Perona laugh to a T.
Oh wow.
It is terrifying.
oh
So
man,
Well, like we,
so you're telling me you're just living the dream?
yeah.
so you just
I mean, she did go through a goth phase at one point.
so you just gonna rub it in our face, huh, Nova? You already got your
Man,
waifu. You
you don't need nobody
wait,
else. You
loophole.
already settled.
Wait, Supernova.
Yep.
Loophole. Why don't you get her to dress like a One Piece character?
Because then she'll make me
I
dress as a One Piece character, and it's either Ace, Dofi, or Sanji, and that's gonna require me cutting back on the eating, cutting back on the drinking, and doing some cardio. I reckon. Otherwise, I'm gonna be running around like the fake straw hats.
Compromise. So that's the compromise.
Zeph.
Yeah, Zeph could go good. I could do a good Zeph.
You just need a peg leg.
Oh, I got the peg leg over here, if you know what I mean.
Oh wow.
Ah.
Hey, nice one.
I saw the shot. I took it. Although
I love this. I like that humor. He got it.
I've got one friend with a face shape like Kuma, and I really want him to give Kuma a shot, like dressing up as Kuma a shot one time. I've got another mate that dead ass looks like Daz Bones.
What the fuck?
That's kind of
Yeah,
that's kind of funny.
straight down to the really faint monobrow. It's golden. It's golden. I don't know. Who do you guys reckon? Like if you had to pick a One Piece character that you reckon you look the most like, or you could pull off looking like the most, who do you reckon you'd be able to pull off?
Number one.
Fair.
Number one was my first pick. It's either that or Kaido, maybe, or
I don't know why.
No,
Kaido looks Mongolian to me.
he definitely is.
He kind of do. He kind of look like he. Yeah, he kind of do look like he be like a Tartar, or like he do look like he grew up on the steppe of the Asian minor or the Asian steppes.
I get that Genghis Khan vibe from him.
I was just gonna say Genghis Khan. Say that.
Yep. And then he does look like he would be Mongolian. Cause it makes a lot of sense. Cause given that he's a warlord and he conquered an Asian themed country,
You can't tell me. Honestly, actually, no. If I had the face paint and stuff, I could definitely make a Firebrook.
Ooh, okay. Yo, dude, still holding out hope that Brooke is gonna have some information on God Valley.
I hope so.
Because the man,
yeah, because he been around for he long in the tooth. You feel me? He got that age on him, so we can tell that he can recall a few. Because remember, back in his day, he was like, oh yeah, Roger, I remember that rookie.
Well, Brooke is older than when God Valley was destroyed and is from the West Blue where God Valley is. So if he's not from God Valley itself, then he very well could probably have been traveling around that area of sea to know of it. Like, it's just like a neighboring country to him.
Right.
For me, what I could do, I could probably pull up Zoro. All I just got to do is just get a green afro and just give me the swords and stuff like that, or I can pull off Luffy.
Yo, I thought this was so funny the other day. I was in a stream and someone was saying like Zoro was their number one like the character they're the most attracted to, and I could not hold back laughing, and I was like,
oh yeah, we were there. They were talking about the attractiveness. Yep. And this is the same person that her name was Monique. She was also talking about, is it possible to knock out a devil fruit out of somebody?
I thought it was another stream because I thought it was one I was in with David 2 Cents, or I don't know. I've been in a lot of them lately, right? But like I couldn't help but laugh because I'm like, all I can think of is that one SBS where they talk about the fact that Zoro only bathes once a week, but he trains out so much, the dude would reek. The dude would reek of alcohol, steel, and just the worst kind of vinegary sweat.
Yeah, because mind you, he be sweating. He
That
moving.
musk, just grown man musk.
It's not grown man musk. Okay, put it this way. It's enough musk that you could probably start growing mushrooms near him.
Like, for all the girls that like Zoro, just mind you, you can't sleep next to him without plugging up your nose.
The dude definitely
Facts.
smells like black mold.
He smells like darkness, just foulness.
Like,
And then Luffy, being Luffy.
oh,
The only listen, the only reason why any girl slept next to him, they all confirmed that they wiped him down when he couldn't move.
Facts. This is confirmed. They had to wipe that man down.
Yo,
because
they had to wash him to finesse him. They saw potential.
Yeah, he couldn't push them away, so they took the opportunity.
That's hilarious.
Also, the fact that we also know that the only other person that actually got him to actually take a bath is Hiyori.
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, that's what Finofa was just saying. She forcibly cleaned him down. Apart from that, the only time we have ever seen him actually bathe is in Alabasta. And I don't even think he was fully in the water. I think he was sitting off to the side.
He was.
He was just chilling. Because most of the time, this man is just out here doing Iron Paradise.
Yep.
Honestly, no wonder he's like getting so good at being a swordsman. Anytime someone goes to draw their sword, they just cop a whiff of the man musk. Just like the air changes direction. They cop a big whiff of it. They start crying, tearing up a little bit. They can't keep fighting.
No, that's exactly the reason. You want to know why? Because the exact stance you have to take when you're pushing sword. Because all right. So I want everyone that's listening. I want you to like pretend that you're about to grab your sword. You see the position that your arms are in, right? Your armpits are covered.
Pits.
Now pretend you're gonna unsheath your sword.
And your armpit just opens. So technically, when the homie, so if we're putting this into perspective, when Zoro does his Bato Jutsu with his Santoryu.
Is that why Zoro beat Killer? Because when he fought Killer, right, he got him with the double pit blast, and Killer didn't have his mask on to get rid of the stint.
Mm-hmm.
And then not only that, he also got sliced up by the Shishi song.
Yeah, poor Killer. Man got robbed and then assaulted.
Dang, it's like this. You fight Zoro, you're like, dang, not only did I get cut up, but I also got to smell his foulness.
The worst part is, Zoro was my favorite character at one point, and then they just gave him the watered down Mihawk effect. And like since then, it's just like I love his character, but I no longer love his post time skip personality.
I know for a fact
he doesn't laugh
Mihawk
anymore.
told him this. I know for a fact Mihawk told that man to bathe.
Tell you what though, talking about he doesn't laugh anymore. Do you know why? Like as a separate thematical reason, Zoro stopped smiling when he found out about Ace.
Yeah.
And
so
he doesn't smile anymore because he thinks if he's goofy, he'll allow something like that to happen to Luffy again.
He feels like, dang, he's like, you know what? I ain't gonna smile. I'm in his own way, you can see that as he's trying to cope with Luffy. Like, he trying to hold it out for his boy. Because Zoro a day one.
The real reason is because Zoro actually tried to enjoy the adventure just like his captain. But because he tried to enjoy the adventure like his captain, he realized that the whole adventure wasn't just all shits and giggles, and he actually had to take shit serious. And he realized that his captain is never going to take shit serious. So in order for them to get any farther, someone has to be serious at all times.
Luffy's all the jokes. Luffy's all the jokes. Zoro's all the seriousness. Sanji is the balance.
Yeah.
Precisely.
That's why Luffy is the figure. It's like, okay, you take a chess. Let's take chess for example. We have Luffy, who's the kingpin, right? The figurehead. Then we have Zoro. and Sanji essentially are his knights. His vassals. I could wager Tony and Nami and Robin. They could be like his bishops.
Mm.
I'm putting Rook as in the joke. I'm putting Rook. I'm putting Brooke as the Rook, and I'm putting Frankie as the Rook. And then for my pawns, I don't want to do this, but I gotta put Usopp at the pawns.
Honestly, there's nothing wrong with that.
It is what it is.
I'm spitting.
We're definitely spitting.
I bet. Because
Um,
it's like the reason why I look at it that way, because I watch High School DxD, because in the Devils they use, so the Angels they use cards, they use spade cards, for their people, while the Devils actually use chess pieces. So you're either, because the homie Issei actually since he has the power of because he has the power of 8 pawns, so he could be moved everywhere on the battlefield. And then he eventually becomes his own king.
mm,
So let's see. For all the kingpins, we got a lot. We can say when it comes to chess, in this case, in the One Piece world, we have a lot of figureheads.
too many. Honestly, which is
Yeah.
which is good coming into this final war, because I feel like a lot of like I feel like a lot of them are gonna start getting like mowed down, because the purpose is gonna be for a lot of
Yep.
these figureheads that what they were doing wasn't the answer, so their character arcs are going to be, they've been saved to be ended in the final arc as proof
Yeah.
that like that is not the way.
Yeah. Also, Hancock is his queen piece, protecting, because in chess, your queen piece always like she's like one of your strongest pieces, and for some reason, she's always the one defending her man's on the
Hey,
battlefield.
y'all realize every time it was time to do something, Hancock was standing on business.
I mean, she's
She
already
really,
just fought his biggest ops in Blackbeard.
I ain't
Mm-hmm.
gonna lie. Remember in the movie. Remember in the movie when she saw
And she
someone try
fucking
to
took
Yep.
hurt
down that fucking
Luffy.
goal.
She was gone. She said, "How dare you?" I was like, "Yo,
Them long
He said,
legs
"I'm
aren't just
pushing,
for
pushing."
show.
like I ain't gonna lie." There was this one, the dude who said Naruto has better. It's a better world than One Piece. I'm like, this is my rebuttal. I said, when it comes to women, Bleach and Naruto. I was like, Bleach and One Piece stand out because those women stand on their own.
I think it's funny because a lot of people say all the women in One Piece look the same, when like there are
That's just
definitely women that do look the same, but I think it's also got like the biggest variety of just random appearances for both men and women. It's like,
hmm
it's very like a you've loaded up a game, you get to your character selection, and you just click in random over and over and over.
It's like
I mean, alright. So if we're being
it's like a
realistic,
random swap of like a DLC.
if we're being realistic, if we're talking about world building, Naruto's whole world building takes place on one continent.
That's what I'm saying. It takes, like, if we really think about it, it technically is like the war. Okay, if we're going like Dynasty Warriors in this, it's basically the Warring States period.
Honestly, I mean, it's not only just the Warring States period; it's even referred to in verse as the Warring States period.
It is. So that's why I could never understood how people like, oh, Naruto's world is the biggest. I'm like, it only happens on one continent.
The problem is that one continent is one of the supercontinents for the entire. Like, they pretty much have, like, as far as we know, one, maybe two Pangeas.
Yep. And then for the most part, everyone was prejudiced against each other until Hashirama was like, "Hey yo, you want a Jinchuriki?"
Hmm.
Here, you can have a three tails just because I like you.
He pretty much said, right, I'm sick of random fighting. Everyone come together,
He's like, "I'm sick
gives
of this
everyone a
war.
gun,
Look,
and has a giant Mexican standoff with everyone. And he's like, sweet, now we're all on equal terms.
I ain't
No,
gonna lie,
literally.
cause you know what's real crazy? I know when it comes to like we call it glazing. I ain't gonna lie. When it comes to, they always glaze Madara, but no one ever gives Hashirama the respect.
I mean,
Oh,
when it
No
comes to
one
truth,
gives
we can start
Hashirama
talking
and
about it.
Tobirama the respect that they are due.
I feel like I definitely give them the respect. I feel like I had an argument not too long back where we are talking about like the top 10 best Genjutsu users in the series, and people were offended that I threw out Hashirama as an example. And they were like, does he even have Genjutsu? And I'm like, do you guys forget that he has a Genjutsu which just turns off your five senses?
Mm-hmm.
And little in terms of strength, by raw power alone, being from the Senju clan, since he was a child, his strength far surpassed any of the Senju as well as any of the Uchiha of the younger generation, even Madara.
Bro, he was a
This
young
is the
and
same Madara people be hyping up. This is the same Madara that took over the Nine Tails and put on samurai armor on the Nine Tails, while while the home while the homie Hashirama used a wooden iron golem and then the Buddha of 1,000 cannons
Mm.
bro.
and killed him.
Hashirama was a
Not
young and
once,
putting
but
his
twice.
friends on Grandma's man.
Don't disrespect the god of Shinobi.
Now, I hate to do this, but it is a work night for me. So I'm going to bring us focusing back to the back half of this chapter because I'm going to have to get off soon. So we get
Yeah,
to
I'm gonna be up.
we get to Kuma bringing Bonnie to Vegapunk, right? We see Bonnie getting to play around with Sentomaru. We find out that there is something in Buccaneer blood, specifically, that you can use to determine that they are different than humans, right? So there's at least a genetic component there that's like significantly different enough to be able to tell that they're a complete different species in that regard. It's also really important to note that we see that Vegapunk still has his head. So within the last 4 years, within the last 4 years, but 2 years ago, within 2 years, he made all of the Kuma pacifistas, replicated Kizaru's laser, also created the sea stone for the bottom of ships, and also cut off the top of his head, made clones of himself, and made punk records in 2 years.
Can we really talk about how he really pulled a homunculus?
Yeah.
He did all of that in the span of 4 years.
No, not 4 years, 2 years. Because it was
2 years.
done.
He really pulled a homunculus out of himself over the span of 2 years. Let that sink in.
Like, the man, like, so like, 4 years ago is when this happened, right? But we know pre-time skip, he was already decked out to this extent, right? So in 2 years flat, this man clones people, and again, it's gonna be real important to know. We saw the pacifistas at the beginning, like at the end of the pre-time skip, right? So not only is he able to clone them, he's able to clone them and get them up to age faster than the Vinsmokes. Because we know the Vinsmokes take 5 years to get a clone up to about 20 years old. Vegapunk out here doing it quicker.
Wasn't there a theory? Hey, wasn't there a theory about Sanji's family or him being descended from the Lunarians because of his fire ability?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's heavily implied that Sanji's DNA is spliced with Lunarian DNA.
And then it didn't. And then the only reason why it didn't, come out of him as a child is because homie a late bloomer.
Yep. Well,
basically.
Not only is it a late bloomer, but you got to think about how good it is as well. Like, a big aspect of One Piece that I feel like a lot of people don't look at or don't like appreciate enough is like, if you're really strong early on, you never get really strong haki. You get just enough haki to pass because you're already really strong. If you start off really weak and get really strong haki and then get physical boosts on top of that, it goes a lot further.
Yeah, it's just like with animals. A lot of times, smaller animals, like for instance, when it comes to like puppies and kittens, a lot of times the runt of those species usually tend to get bigger and stronger because they had time to develop when they're younger.
They get that little bit of extra attention, right?
They get because a lot of times with lions, a female lioness usually tends to have like from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 cubs even. A lot of times, some of those cubs won't make it, but it's always the ones that are like just in the middle that the mama lion pushes the most to get stronger.
It's in Saji's case.
He was the runt. That's why he needed special attention from his sister and his mom. But we also see that when it comes to his cooking, I ain't gonna lie. Hear me out. I know I know the Sanji fans are gonna hate me for this one. I ain't gonna lie. Hear me out. Sanji contradicts his way of thinking when it comes to cooking. Even though he says, hear me out. Even though he says he wants to feed everyone with a full belly, have you noticed he always feeds the women first and the men last? Because he actually hates men in general.
I will
Yeah,
say against that.
because in the first part of his life, the only people that were nice to him were women.
I will say against that
Exactly.
is he does still feed the men. He just doesn't feed them the best parts.
Mm-hmm.
He never lets them
Yeah,
go hungry.
exactly.
They just don't. They don't get the best dish.
They don't.
He
They
always feeds
really
the
don't.
women
Like
first.
they get the. This is why I will always say, in terms of like cooking, Soma and Komatsu are the better cooks in that aspect.
I will say, when it comes to Sanji in that regard, I think it's also like a big thing of his character
alright.
is he's flawed as well, because people
The
talk
only
about
thing
how.
I gotta say,
Oh yeah, you go for Nofo.
I only got one thing to say, and it's the simple fact is, whenever someone ate Sanji's food, they never argued whose food was better.
Have you ever read Sojiku no Sanji?
Mm-hmm.
Man is out here doing the food wars, making his biggest critics have literal orgasms over food.
Bro's
Mm-hmm. I ain't gonna lie. Some matter of fact, I just saw one of my friends stay blazed. She wasn't alive, and she had a thing. She had a panel. It was like the who was the best, who were some of the best cooks. It had the. Do y'all remember Akame got killed?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It it was the guy with the mask. It was the guy with the crazy mask that was under Esdeath with the flamethrower Imperial arms. Then it was
Mm-hmm.
Bon Kamatsu. It was Bon, the dude from Akame got killed with the mask, Kamatsu, and Sanji.
Bon and Sanji slams the whole thing. Bon and Sanji have the best cooking over all of them.
I would say Sanji definitely. I'm gonna be honest. I will say it's definitely Kamatsu and Sanji.
Put it this way, right? Do you know how hard you got to go as a chef to make Usopp look buff?
Nah, facts. And then, and with Kamatsu individually, bro can hear. Like it's kind of crazy, but bro can hear the voices, even the soul, even of the ingredients and dishes he make, because this man made a soup, right? He made something called century soup that had almost every ingredient he could find. Also, he makes a dish. Y'all gonna be crazy on y'all gonna look at this crazy. He made a dish called God. He cooked a dish called God.
Imagine making a dish so great you have to call it God. You worshiping dishes, my nigga. Like the fuck.
Yes. There's a because in Toriko, it's literally there's a dish like it's and this ain't no ordinary dish. This is a dish among dish. This dish is called
Naming a dish God is another kind of crazy. Like that's just a
like,
different kind of
but
crazy.
but this dish, I'm telling you, this dish was fought over.
Shit. God, I'd imagine.
Now,
It's kind of crazy, but yes, Because Komatsu also he has a knife. Okay, so he has like this whole kitchen knife, and this kitchen knife is so sharp that can cut and it can cut through literally anything. So he had to master his kitchen knife because this thing almost split someone's house.
And he cut Sanji though.
Yeah, all this, all this is just
Yes.
telling me that I have to give
If I
Toriko
really
a
got
read.
into if I really have to say Kamatsu he's definitely not losing to Sanji in a cooking match, because if you look at the way Kamatsu looks, you would think, nah man, this ain't man. Look up the way Kamatsu looks from Toriko. Y'all be like, man, there's no way he beating Sanji, but he definitely will hold his own.
I know that the Toriko characters get wild.
Yes,
I know
they
they
are
get
what.
absolutely wild.
Matter of fact, I got one. So there's this one dude. I there's this one guy. His name is Zebra, right? So with his power, he can use frequencies and seismic sounds like a blaster from his mouth. And let- this man looked at a forest filled with ingredients, filled with animals, and killed every last one of and ate every last one of them.
Sounds like a good cook up. All right.
He ate he didn't eat them just for food. No, he ate it. He killed them all for pleasure. And then they had to lock him up. Bro was in prison. Do you want to know what this man did to say hello to Toriko, the main character? He was still in prison. This man opened up his mouth and made a sound blast. And, and mind you, you want to know where Toriko was? He was half away around the world. Zebra was just saying hello.
Just whispering it. Just whispering it halfway around the world.
Yes, he did a little seismic blast and say, "What up, Nick?" And then Toriko being Toriko was like, "I know that blast anywhere. That was Zebra."
Does anyone have any predictions for chapter 1100? Considering we're about to hit 1100, and it does also feel so wild as well to be
Happy anniversary.
Dude, 100 chapters past chapter 1000 already. That felt like it was only the other month.
Happy anniversary! Look, One Piece. You were one of the you and the big three stand amongst one of some of the greatest animes. Happy anniversary to everyone. Also, can we talk about how my boy Luffy was at the Thanksgiving parade? Let's go.
Ooh, okay.
First it was Times Square, then the Thanksgiving parade.
I got a random prediction.
Bro was up there with Goku. Let's really talk about it.
I got a random prediction. Chapter 1111. Right? We're gonna have. I think within the next 6 chapters we end Egghead. Then we got a couple of chapters seeing what's happening around the world again before we get to Elbaf. Chapter 1111, we're gonna see. It's gonna be titled Number 1.
Yeah,
and it's gonna be a Mihawk chapter.
Lie. I ain't gonna lie. You know what? As a kid, you know what I really thought about Albert? I thought Albert Einstein low-key was an alchemist.
Fair enough.
But no, like I was like 12, and then we were learning about Albert Einstein in science class, right? And I thought to myself, because I grew up watching Full Metal Alchemist. I was like,
I completely
is he an alchemist? And since we're talking about Vegapunk being just like Albert Einstein and cloning himself, I'm like, this man really is an alchemist, because the way he just homunculized himself into clones, I'm like, yo, he made homunculus.
Can we talk for just one quick second? We see 4 years ago he's still got a big ass head, right?
Yes.
But we see that the head is now the size of the island. Right? So in 4 years, this man, he got his brain, he enveloped so much more knowledge that his brain literally became the size of an island.
It's like the thing that Thanos said to Tony in the MCU. You're not the only one cursed with knowledge. So if you think about it, he really was cursed with knowledge to the point where his head got even bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Hey Finofo, in this case, would he explode with the Mizzen?
Yes.
Like he would just up and explode. I could just he'd be like, yes, all the Mizzen is mine, and all the
'Cause
characters are like, wait for it. Then he just goes
essentially his body
kaboom.
would deteriorate, and then his Benson would just feel the tree of life, and just because of how knowledgeable he is, he might end up being a non-physical construct.
I could see him just being like, all the Mizzen is mine, and until it just until he just gets consumed.
Now,
I generally see him. What's he saying, Noel?
I'm gonna have to wrap the stream up here. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I'm running out of time. It's about 9 o'clock where I am. Thank you guys for coming through. It was really appreciated.
Yes,
And
sir.
as well, going forward, we do this every week, right? Normally, we do it over the weekend, so normally a day ago. But you guys are always welcome to hop in whenever you want. I'll always put up in the Discord when we're ready, like when we're planning for it and that as well. So
And you know, you guys are always and you guys are always welcome in my Discord, the Round Table. You already know y'all are welcome, cause y'all the boys.
Perfect. Do you guys want to say goodbye? Say your last pieces before signing off.
It's your boy, the Black Paladin, and I will always say, who the big three? We the big three. It will always be, ninjas, pirates, and soul reapers. Your boy is out.
All right, my lovely people, the freshest stout. I will bid you all adieu.
Peace. Nothing but love, nothing but respect. Until the next chapter of One Piece, or until the next video of mine you watch, whatever it is you're here for. Thank you guys and girls for coming through. Nothing but love, nothing but respect. Peace. Have a damn good day. Goodbye. Thank you.